Welcome to another episode of Real You, Real Money. I'm going to be honest right from the start. I have clickbaited this title. Kind of. It's still true. It's still true. I have indeed cancelled my launch. That has 100% happened. Not for the reasons that you might think if you haven't heard me talk about this, if you're not in one of my communities. Not for the reasons you would expect. Nothing's gone wrong. Nothing bad's happened. I wasn't disorganised. None of that stuff. Instead, things have gone very right. And I wanted to share with you exactly what's happened. So let me give you a bit of background. I have a program called Bold Money. Many of you will know about it. It is a group program which is designed to get people into consistent 5k months. So I talk about going from scattered to 5k. It might be that people are hitting that. It might be that they are wanting to hit those 5k months, but they want to make them consistent. They want to grow a business that does that with ease. That's what Bold Money is all about. I've got a Bold Money framework. I love it. It's such a good program. So I really get really intimate with people about their business strategy as well as their money mindset and their deconditioning work around money. My current cohort were ending. I've been filling up the next round. I've been talking about it on the down low for a few weeks, just to people who I was having like the odd call with that could be a good fit, DMing a few people that were interested. And as it stood at the beginning of last week, I had 2 people signed up. Very normal for an early bird scenario. And I just thought on the Monday of last week, I thought, you know what? I'm gearing up into the full launch for the next week, which is actually now this week. So I will send out a couple of emails to my list without much information about Bold Money itself, just a PS, the early bird's open, and then the next day, I did an email that was a bit more, this is what the program's about. And then the following day, I talked about my podcast. If memory serves me correctly, I did a PS about Bold Money, but I'd have to actually check that was true. I think that's what I did. I also mentioned it in last week's podcast. Just thought, I'll just, put it out there that it's available. I only went and bloody sold it out, didn't I? On the early bird as well. I was astounded. I think after the first email that I sent, just the PS, maybe it was the second email, I had enough people interested to sell out the whole thing. In fact, I said there were 6 spaces and there's now at least 7 of those 8 spaces gone for sure. What just happened? So I did cancel my launch. I was meant to be gearing up. The whole idea was on Friday of last week, I would have sent you all an email saying, okay, next week I'm running a workshop. It's all about the Bold Money framework. It's actually a workshop I love delivering. Some of you will have been to it before. And then I would have gone into a couple of weeks, a week and a half, maybe, of selling Bold Money. But I don't need to do that. What's frustrating is this would have been a great case study for Bold Money, because the reason strategically this has worked, and I'm going to talk about a lot more than this, the reason strategically this has worked is because of the Bold Money methodology that I teach. So I'm going to talk about that in bits across today's episode, but I also want to talk about all of the ways in which, because it's such a key component of why that strategy works, it's actually the money mindset and deconditioning work that I have done, that I teach in Plenty, that has led me to that. So I also want to dive into that, because when I really think about what has led me to this place of the ease of this one selling out, when what I don't think I've said much so far is that this isn't actually a normal experience for me. I think it's very easy to hear people are hitting certain numbers in their business and presume it means that everything they do sells with ease, that they sell out stuff just like that. That is not true for me most of the time, and it is far too early to say, and touch wood, it would be amazing if this continues. I say touch wood and stick to the strategy, Ray. But it would be amazing if next time I'm coming back and saying, okay, it happened again. Like, how amazing would that be? But we're not there yet. But what I will say is, this is not a common experience for me. I tell a story a lot in Plenty and in Bold Money about a launch of Sell That Thing, which is my selling program that happened, I think it was 2024. And I was launching Sell That Thing, which is, a whole course about selling. And I was launching Sell That Thing, and I think I probably did like a free sort of event type thing. I love doing like a workshop or something like that. And I really try and make those things valuable, because you're all giving your time for them, as well as them aiming to sell the course as well. So I probably did that, I'm pretty sure. And then I was selling the rest of the course a couple of weeks. I think it was a week and a half. No sales came in until the final day that the cart was open. No sales came in until 1:30 p.m. on the final day that the cart was open. And even more than that, the majority of the sales came in after 9:30 p.m. that day. Now, I teach in Sell That Thing in all of my programs a lot about the importance of seeing your launches all the way through. In Plenty and in Sell That Thing and in Bold Money, in all my programs, we call it hit and run marketing. That thing where you go, here's my offer. I haven't had enough feedback. I don't know that people like it. I'm just going to duck out because it's scaring me. I describe that as hit and run marketing. And it is really, really important that you do the mindset work that allows you to break the habit of hit and run marketing and that you stick with your launch until the final moment. The last round of Bold Money, which was a glorious launch, I really enjoyed it. It was really spacious. I got brilliant people in. I really experimented with the way I was launching and I really enjoyed that kind of launch. That launch, I had 8 places. I actually sold 7 and then someone dropped out. And so I was at 6 and had about a week left of the launch with these 6 people. Totally fine with the 6. That's more than a viable course. That's brilliant. To my mind, it almost feels like sold out, whether it's 6 or 8 people. I'm really happy with that. But I had promised myself I would keep emailing until the close of cart day. Now, I also know that with a bigger course, like something like Bold Money, which is for 6 months, it's more of an investment. I know that what that generally looks like is people wanting to have a chat before they sign up. I know that people are very unlikely to see about that course one day and book in the next day. It's something people sit with, they think about. This is what your hit and run marketing doesn't take into account, that people actually need time to go, oh, am I going to do that? Maybe I'll do that. Let me see. So I know that the likelihood of someone booking in the last few days is actually very slim. However, 2 things. I'd promised myself, number one, I'd promised myself I'd keep emailing for all my launches until the final day. So I scheduled those emails until the final day, even though I knew there was a slim chance someone would sign up. And actually, they didn't sign up. It's important to say. But it just mattered to me that I kept the promise I'd made to myself. The second reason it was important is that I had a number of people. So often when people sign up to my stuff, I don't take them off of the list, of my email list, because I like them to see what I'm doing. So if you signed up to Bold Money, you're like, oh, not that I sent a lot of emails, but if you were like, oh, I still got those emails, yes, because I like you to see how I'm selling. And I knew I had 6 people signed up to Bold Money and I wanted them to see what it looked like. I wanted to model for them what it looks like to stay the course of your launches. And actually, very quickly, as we started the program, once all of that was done, one of the members said to me, I really loved seeing you emailing right to the end. And that's really important. So all that's to say is I'm much more used to going to the end, like getting those people in. A lot of my people are really last minute, largely because I'm last minute. I'm someone who'll think about something for a while, plan on doing it, then need to be reminded. And I have zero shade to people having the same experience that I have of buying. We need to allow our right fit people to have the experience that they need, not just buy quickly so that we can soothe our nervous systems. So, this is not my normal experience. However, I want to talk about why I think this happened this time, because I also don't think it was an accident at all. And like I said, I was prepping for this full launch until I realised I hadn't actually mentioned the early bird. And so I think this is one of the things, one of the first examples of the way mindset work came into this launch was, and this is what I hear from clients a lot, on Monday of last week, when I sat down, I went, oh, I actually haven't managed to email people about the early bird. It wasn't a big drama. It wasn't a big, oh no, is it okay for me to do that? Is that enough time for them? Is it enough notice? What an idiot for not doing it. None of that. I just went, oh, I didn't do that. Okay. And I wrote 3 emails. I repurposed one email. I wrote an email based off of a private podcast that I'd done. So in Plenty, every Monday, everybody gets something called the Monday Pep Talk, which is a private podcast. It's very behind the scenes, very relaxed, me talking about either things going on in my business or things that are coming up in the group, things that are going on in the world, things that I'm noticing, diving deeper into the wheel of conditioning, which is the basis of all of our work in Plenty. It was my own framework, doing all of those shenanigans. So I'd done one of those and I was like, oh, I'll base an email off of that and I'll just put a quick PS. Then I'll repurpose one of the emails and then I'll do a podcast announcement for this podcast, for Real You, Real Money, because that's back. Super simple. That's all I was doing. No drama. And that is a really good sign, because what that says is I am detaching my worth from how organised I am, how on top of things, how things are supposed to look in my business. And I'm allowing myself, this is very much linked to what I talked about in the last episode of the podcast, I'm allowing myself to just follow my own rhythms. This is what this looks like for me. Never, never in my 8-9 years of running a business can I be accused of being over prepared. I'm always sort of going, oh shit, I haven't done that. Oh yeah, I must do that. And I've learned to just be okay with that. 9 years in, 8 years in, 9 years in, it's kept working for me. I've got so much evidence that I do not need to be a better version of myself. And it feels like it's deeply clicked. I think it's clicked at various levels at various points, but there's something recently in the last few months of this deep acceptance of that. So I didn't freak out. I didn't tell myself I was already behind. I didn't get perfectionist about it, and I just whacked them out. Didn't tell myself, like, because I actually hadn't been emailing much. In June and July, I sent like one email. August, I was trying to send about a weekly one, and I think 3 out of 4 weeks I did that. And then I sent 3 in a row in September. Not sure if I'd sent another one before that. I had zero shame about sending 3 emails in 3 days, 3 days running. Totally fine. That's who I am. That's how I run my business. And it sold the thing out. And I want you all to hear that. Hear how many ways I have, in that scenario, broken the rules of what you're supposed to do. And I want you to know that permission to take up space in that way, as the whole person you are, does not come from strategy. It comes from mindset work. It comes from deconditioning work. And it comes from what I describe as the secret sauce in Plenty, which is that your experience of money, your ability to make or not make money, how money feels to you, actually has nothing to do with your feelings about money itself, and everything to do with your feelings about yourself. My security in that moment of, let's say I'd sent those emails and got no response from them and nobody else had bought during the early bird. Fine. That's actually what I expected. I didn't really expect to get any more sales from the early bird. I expected it to follow more of the trajectory of last time, which was 2 on the early bird, which I already had when I sent those emails, and then do the workshop and get the last however many people I needed or wanted. And that was not the experience this time. But my self-worth, my belief in my offer, my belief in my ability to make money, none of that was based in whether or not those emails worked, whether or not they were perceived to be done the right way or the wrong way, whether or not I had played the game right. We talk a lot in Plenty about this idea that money is like a vending machine, and we put perfection in and then we get money out, or we put hard work in. I think I used this analogy last week, and we get money out, and it's just not the case. You can put your scrappiest work in and get the results you want. Should it always look like that? I don't think it ever does always look like that for anybody. Sometimes I am doing the slickest, most brilliant work, and sometimes it is so scrappy. There's always an element of scrappy, I think, actually, with my work. And all that does is communicate that I'm a whole person. I'm just a person. And the funny thing is that people are desperate to give their money to people, not faceless corporations, not faceless businesses. They want to connect deeply with other humans. And yet here we all are trying to rub out our humanness as if it's incorrect and wrong and not worthy of being paid. So If you hear nothing else I say today, I want you to hear that your feelings about money are not about money itself, and they are all about how you feel about you. The secret in plenty that I tell you all, so I don't know why I keep calling it a secret because it's not really, but people always say to me, like, oh, so much of this is about how I feel about me, isn't it? Yes, because money's neutral. Money's neutral. It's not looking to you for you to be your best version before it deems you worthy. It's not sentient. I do not believe it is. I do believe that there is an energy to money. That doesn't mean it's sentient though. It's not looking around and going, you're like, do you remember that? Those of you in the UK, do you remember? In fact, I think they've brought this back. The lottery advert that was like this big finger that would come down and like point. That's not what money's doing, like choosing the ones that are good and discarding the ones that are bad. It's not like some omnipresent God figure. That isn't it. And we need to stop treating it like it is. It's so bound up on in this like Christian, I don't know what, framework, I guess. And that's not what money is about. So, number one, in all of this, my worth was not based on how well those emails did, when the sales came in, how well this launch did. I've been talking recently quite a bit about the goals you actually want. Like, what do you want in your life, in your business? What are the things that you feel like you should want, but actually, let's replace those with the things you do want, which might look very different to what we're being told we should want. And that has really happened for me when it looks like what I talked about in last week's episode about really reconciling this, where my nervous system is at now with the way I work. So I knew that I needed to stop chasing these bigger things that actually weren't serving me and actually were keeping me from my bigger goals, which still exist. And I knew in order to do that, I would need to pull back and just do things properly. I kept just going for the quick win, trying for the big launch. I wasn't doing it. I don't know what the word is. I don't want to say well enough because that kind of is counter to what I was saying, but I was just rushing it and I wasn't thinking it through. It wasn't considered. It wasn't like, it was a bit like, I think I can make money this way. I think I can make money this way. And I'd got into this habit of really firefighting with things. And I knew I had to stop that, I had to really break that habit. But I also knew that that had been keeping me at a certain income level and that my income was going to drop. And certainly the first quarter of this year was one of my worst in business ever. Probably similar to my very first year in business, the first quarter. It was really low. I also got flu in January and it was a brutal flu. And that took me out and that delayed things even more. But that dip in income was not accidental. I knew it was coming. I needed so much mindset work, so much to be okay with that dip. Because if I was constantly putting all my worth in how much my business was making, that would have been unbearable. I'm not saying that I like danced my way through it and loved it, but it was expected and I had to keep reminding myself, like, this is the plan anyway. And the reason I did it is I was pulling back from like launching random stuff to create things that would let me build. So that's when Plenty changed over to a membership. I relaunched Bold Money because I wanted to have these very foundational things that were repeatable in my business. If you want to make rooted, grounded decisions in your business, that looks like doing the work to detach your brain from beliefs like hard work equals money. I've got to keep being in that effort, do. Because if we look at that, my launch thing, my let me try this, let me try that kind of approach, that really feeds into the hard work equals money thing, but it was not sustainable. Similarly, your income cannot be the only sign of success for you. I hear so many people talking about the moment when their business will become legit or real or will be like a real business being when they hit a certain income goal, except they are very vague about what that actually means and when it happens and what I also know. So they'll say, oh, once I've earned this much, and I'll say for 1 month. Oh, well, I don't know. No, not just 1 month. It needs to be repeated for how many months? Well, I don't know, 6 months? And what happens if you have a dip in there? Does that take you back to zero? What does that look like for you? And I noticed that what they often do is A, they don't actually have parameters for when that will happen. And if they do, they keep moving them. Because the issue isn't how you feel about money, it's how you feel about you. It's a belief you have that you are not running or not capable of running a legitimate business. I had to park my ego and be steadfast in the knowledge that even as a money coach, hear this. If you're in the like business coaching space or service provider space, you'll know the pressure of feeling like you're only legit if your income is quote unquote successful. As a money coach, that's pretty high, obviously, around money. So I had to really work on something that's been quite tricky for me, this belief that it is okay for my income to dip as a money coach. That the amount of money I make, even as a money coach, means nothing about me. Can't say that lesson has been learned easily. I think I am really getting there though. And this is why looking at the stories society tells us about money, about your identity, and about your worth is a crucial part of money mindset work. I have lost count of the people who come, especially to do a one-off call with me or join Plenty, who say to me, Ray, I've been doing so much money mindset work and I just can't seem to actually get traction. It's not making any difference. And then I introduce the element of conditioning work, and suddenly they're like, oh, now I understand. With traditional mindset work, which is normally more based around law of attraction stuff, just doesn't touch the ways in which your brain has been taught, or it doesn't touch deeply enough. The ways in which your brain and your body have been taught to be safe around money. It doesn't go into the way intersectionality plays a role here. Women are not given safe spaces to take up space, to say, here I am, I'm going to truly enter what have been male dominated spaces unashamedly and boldly. We haven't been given that. So until we start to notice that's what's going on, often our money mindset work falls way short of being able to actually create a strategy in your business that supports who you are. If you're someone with lower energy, if you're someone who's scatty, like I've been talking about, if that's something that happens in your world, in your business world over and over again, let's stop trying to fix that and let's build a business that allows for that. What allows you to do that, what allows you to feel safe doing that, is the deconditioning work. So yeah, this launch still totally surprised me, but it felt so good to truly prove to myself that this is possible. That what I talked about in last week's episode about a slower pace is possible. So the other thing that's been going on in my business is a lot of layering in offers. So I have noticed, and this is what I teach in Bold Money, I have noticed that when people buy from me something like Bold Money, they've often bought from me before. And so my whole goal across this year has been introducing more what I call trust points, places for me to have that connection with people that will lead to more sales. And what I love about that is it creates a real lovely community for me. I feel like I know people when they're buying, I feel like to deeply know their business, and also it works for me when it comes to generating money in and income in my business. And that kind of ease is possible for you too. But it starts not with strategy, but with the untangling of your money gunk, all those beliefs that have you constantly signing up to a program because you think that's going to be the one that fixes things, doing money mindset work that doesn't quite ever hit the mark because it's not going deep enough, trying another strategy and another strategy and another strategy, and yet not quite seeing the outcome you want in your business because you've been conditioned to seek permission from everybody around you and not pay attention to what you want and what you need, and you haven't been taught to trust it. You haven't been taught to trust it. So many of you will have already had the idea that is going to unlock your income and you're not doing it because you don't have the self-worth. You're attaching your worth to the outcomes too much, and because you cannot see that it's possible for you because maybe it involves working less, maybe it doesn't look like it's supposed to look. And so you are keeping yourself stuck, you're holding yourself back because you haven't done the work to free who you really are and unleash them on your business. And until you pay attention to untangling your money beliefs, to degunking money for yourself, until that happens, you will be stuck in cycles of wandering where you don't seem to be able to get to where you want to. This work, the work we do in Plenty around deconditioning, is the secret sauce to money mindset work, but also to making strategies work. It's why I made Plenty a membership, because I wanted it to be there for people while they go off. Some people will go off and work in Bold Money with me, some people will go and work one-to-one with me, but some people go into other programs as well. And I wanted you to have a consistent level of support when it came to your money mindset, because that is so important to have somewhere to go and bounce these things off of. I've lost count of the amount of people that come into a Plenty call feeling like they're in a course or a program that is sending them a bit wonky, and then we run it through, what do you want? And then actually they're able to get a lot more value from that program because they are tapping into what they need. So if you want your launches, your pricing, your visibility to finally work, because you're no longer tripping over old conditioning, you're no longer reading a great marketing strategy, but not being able to hold it in your nervous system while you really have to see it through to the end, I really, really want to invite you to join Plenty. Having just come off the success of one early bird, I am going to go and extend an early bird offer out just for this week for Plenty as well. So if you're listening to this and you want to join Plenty, you can do so for just £65 a month. No minimum commitment currently, that may change. But if you sign up at the moment, there'll be no minimum commitment. And you get access to my frameworks around deconditioning. You get access to weekly group coaching, money mindset group coaching calls, co-workings, and of course, the Monday Pep Talk, which is the private podcast I mentioned. If you're interested, jump to the link I've included in the show notes. I would love to invite more of you into Plenty so that we can really start this work that underpins everything. It underpins everything. And it is my mission to have more business owners stop underestimating the impact this work has on the rest of their business, on the way they feel about themselves, and obviously on the amount of money they make. Thank you for being here. I love having you here as always. If you've got any questions, please do pop me a DM on Instagram and I'll be happy to answer any questions you've got about joining Plenty.